Hey YouTube, hope you guys are doing great. I did a faux mohawk for you guys today, so we're rocking. A girl contacted me recently in regards to my past Dyscalculia videos, and some of you are like, you know, it's Dyscalculia, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm Midwestern, and I just say Dyscalculia, so pardon my twang, I guess. Anyways, for those of you that don't know what dyscalculia are, I'm just going to go over a brief little review. But basically, dyscalculia is a math learning disability, similar to dyslexia, but specifically with mathematics, and giving directions, giving change, doing tips, reading analog clocks is hard. We like to count on our fingers a lot. There's just a lot of different stuff, but it's basically a memory problem. That's what a lot of people seem to forget and don't understand. Dyscalculia has actually been around longer than dyslexia, and yet it's kind of like this unheard of phenomena, I guess, and a lot of different schools and universities are starting to become aware of it, which is great and wonderful because so many kids have struggled through school and have had a really hard time not knowing what their disability was or even what learning disabilities were, because they're kind of like unheard of before, I don't know, now modern times, I guess. So anyways, with dyscalculia, it's especially a learning disability in terms of memory problems. A lot of people will be like, well, let me just try to teach it to you differently and like maybe it'll stick and we can like fix you. And that's the problem. A lot of people don't realize it's like you can understand what they're saying. You'll understand the teacher for like minutes, seconds, days, months maybe, and then it's gone. We blank out on it. Like I'll watch like a professor or something like that. I'm like, okay, I get what they're doing, but when I have to do it myself, I completely blank out. And that's like the biggest problem too. It's kind of like having the short-term memory of like a goldfish when it comes to math and equations and things like that. So anyways, as long as you're open about it, it's not a big deal. Like if I go to parties, I'll be like, I need help counting the dice or the die, and they'll be like, okay, that's cool. So it's not that bad. And as long as you're open about it, people are willing to kind of adapt and be helpful. So anyways, so what should you do if you have a learning disability? First and foremost, as soon as you notice your kid or yourself struggling with something and you think it might be a little bit more than just being like ADD or ADHD or something like that, you need to get it documented first and foremost. That's exactly what you have to do, and it pays off. Sometimes at least in the state of Michigan, we have like the 501A plan or something. I forget what it's called, but it's in the state of Michigan, and basically they help students, and they I think used to pay for classes or whatever accommodations needed to be provided, they would take care of for you. So I had to take I was offered to take like a slow math class or something in high school, and that kind of helped at the time. But my grades were really poor. I had like C's and D's and stuff like that and almost failing. And I would get most of the equation right, but then I would screw up some little small thing. And I would write like a cheat list on like an index card of like what to do step by step, and I would still somehow like screw it up. So it's just whatever. Math and I do not get along. So get your stuff documented. If you're about to go into college, as soon as you get your stuff documented, make sure you provide it to the disabilities center or place that you have. I went to Michigan State University, and we had the RCPD, which is the Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities, and I had the worst experience ever. Like, they almost broke me down. It took a year and a half to fight them, and I went through discrimination and just terrible stuff, being ignored, all these other horrible things until I finally won, after threatening a federal lawsuit, of course, which happened. So I started having issues with dyscalculia when I was about 5th grade, maybe 2nd grade, when I was starting to learn like adding and subtracting. But once 5th grade, I knew I had a problem. When we would count and go around the room, I would get really nervous and like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't count, yada, yada, yada. And so I started to know I would have problems, and my grades in school kind of reflected that throughout with mathematics or whatever. I would do really well in other subjects for the most part, but just not math. And interestingly enough, people with dyscalculia usually have high above average IQs in every other subject except for like math and sometimes natural sciences. It just depends, like chemistry and things like that. I did horrible in chemistry. And so as soon as we noticed things were probably kind of, you know, off, just not right in high school, we started to offer the school information, and I went and got a DSM-4 exam done. So make sure you get a DSM-4 exam or some sort of psychological evaluation that verifies that you have a learning disability in whatever subject, or, you know, say math, if you have dyscalculia, for example. So make sure you get it documented, verified, and then as soon as you get into school, make sure you contact the center or whatever. My disability specialist, whose name rhymes with lame almost, she's had no idea what dyscalculia was, and she's a specialist. Even when I provided her with information and documentation and literature about dyscalculia, she wouldn't even read it. And she's like, well, we're just going to offer you, like, the standard, like, math class. It's, like, an intensive program, and we'll drill it in your brain, like, 8 to 10 times a week, and, like, all sort of crazy stuff. I would have failed that class, and I was starting to fail the class because I was in it at first. And then finally the provost was like, you need to drop out of that class. You're not going to make it. You know that kind of thing. And, like, in a good way, though. And was like, let's just get you a substitution. And told the RCPD, you really should give her a substitution. And they're like, nope, we're not. We want her to fail the class 3 to 4 times before we finally decide that she can't, you know, exceed and pass that course. Which is ridiculous because it's like a money scheme. But also, at the same time, if I failed that class 3 to 4 times, it would lower my GPA enough that I would be kicked out of the college entirely. So it's just like a scam, and you go around and around with these people. 1.5 years it took for me to fight them. Finally, we met with the university's attorney and was like, obviously, this girl is not trying to cheat you guys. Like, she's got 4.0s and 3.5s, you know, blah, blah, blah. Which brings me to the point, when I first met my RCPD specialist, she said to my mom, in terms of me being, like, dumb, she was like, well, perhaps we should be more selective in our admittances to MSU. As if I was too stupid for Michigan State. Yet I graduated on the dean's list, started my own company, I've been on TV, I've done a lot of cool stuff with my life, you know, and not once did I alter or lower the integrity of the university, which is what your university or school is going to complain about. Well, if we give you a substitution, it's going to kind of lower the requirements, and then everyone else is going to want a substitute, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of the problems are with schools and universities, they think these people with learning disabilities are trying to, like, cheat. Like, somehow it's like some made-up thing, and we're just trying to take the easy way out. I'm like, no. Obviously, this has gone on through my whole life. So the director of the RCPD called me, who is also a blind man, and he's like, well, tell me about your disability. And we talked for like 45 minutes on the phone, and I'm telling him my whole history. And towards the end of the conversation, he's wrapping it up. He's like, well, I think you'll excel in this class, this math class, and I think you're going to do a great job, blah, 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 blah. That's like going up to this blind guy being like, as my mom would say, I want you to paint me a sunset, and I want you to do this, 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 and this. Something he clearly can't do. You know, and it's hard with a learning disability because it's not physical. People don't see you and recognize, oh, you need help. You have to, like, ask for it and fight for it, and it's just a pain in the butt. And, you know, it's something you can't help. You're born with that. Or sometimes people get dyscalculia from brain damage, but usually it's a genetic. My mom has it. They say it's not genetic, but I think it is. A genetic type thing. I was born with it, and sometimes it goes away. Sometimes it varies per person, too. You know, it just really depends on each individual, and sometimes people have it less or worse, or sometimes it fades away as they get older in life, so perhaps yours will not be so bad, hopefully. But anyways, make sure you document stuff, contact your RCPD, make sure you fight them. I had to take 3 classes to substitute the 1 math class that they wanted me to take. I had to take a, like, communications, like, statistics course, which is, like, harder than the basic college algebra course. Oh my God, I don't even remember that class, and during the exam, I, like, was possessed by God himself or something, because I got an 89% on it, and I don't even remember. I, like, blacked out. It was like a blur. It was crazy, but I'm so grateful. I had to take a personal finance class, and then I had to take a philosophy, logic, and reasoning course or something like that, all to make up for one stupid class that I had already taken at another university. That was the big issue. I had already taken it at Central Michigan University, this basic college algebra, and wanted to transfer in, and they're like, well, it's not the same class. I barely passed that CMU class because the professor took pity on me. It was like, all right, you were 2 points below, so I'm just going to give you a C, you know, because I was at, like, a D+ or whatever. And so I passed the class, and they're like, well, obviously you passed the class, so you should be able to pass this class because you got a C. Even though I told them, like, failed that class, and they just took pity on me, but whatever. Anyways, hang in there, guys. It's a pain in the butt. People don't believe you. You got to get stuff documented. You got to climb up their butt. I was ignored for months and missed phone calls, no return my emails, like harassing stuff. They discriminated against me. It was terrible. So, but I got through it. You guys can too. I know you can. Just really be persistent. So I hope this helps, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.